She was already shouting before the cops even stepped out of their car. "He's trespassing on HOA property," she screamed, pointing at me like I'd stolen her crown. I stood on the dock, calm as ever, holding the deed in my hand. The sun was setting behind the old lake, my lake now, and all I could think was how this woman had no idea what she'd just started. The officer glanced at me, then at the HOA president's sash Karen wore like she was leading a parade. "Sir, do you have ID?" he asked. "Of course," I said, pulling out my papers. "And, before you say a word, maybe check whose name is on this property line." Karen scoffed. "That lake belongs to the HOA. You can't just buy public property." I almost laughed. "Public? Lady, this lake was federally owned until I bought it last month. The county auctioned it off, open record. Didn't your board read the notices?" Her face froze for a second, but then she snapped back with that fake authority voice. "I manage this community. You can't fence off a natural waterway. I'll have you arrested for blocking access." The officer looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, he's showing legal documents here." Karen cut him off. "No, that lake connects to our walking trail. It's in our jurisdiction." I leaned closer, quiet but firm. "Your jurisdiction ends where federal waterways begin. You see that sign?" I pointed to the rusty old plaque by the dock. "U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. That means this lake follows federal waterway code, not HOA rules. So unless your little club runs the country now, you're trespassing on my land." Karen blinked hard, clearly not expecting that. Her lips trembled, like she wanted to say something smart, but her brain couldn't find the words. The cop sighed, turning to her. "Ma'am, you can't call 911 over a civil property dispute. You're lucky this man's not pressing charges for harassment." She went red, the kind of red that screams humiliation and rage combined. "This isn't over," she muttered, storming back toward her golf cart. "We'll see what the board says." I watched her drive off, mud splashing on her pristine shoes. The officer gave me a small nod and said quietly, "It looks like you handled that better than most would." I smiled. "Oh, this is just the start. They've been using this lake for years without paying a dime. But now," I looked across the still water, "now they're about to learn what ownership really means." The cop tilted his head. "What do you mean?" I just grinned. "Let's just say I'm locking this place down with federal codes they can't touch." He chuckled. "Good luck, sir." "Oh, I don't need luck," I said, walking back toward my truck. "I've got paperwork and patience." Behind me, the lake reflected the golden light, calm, silent, and entirely mine. She called 911 over water she didn't even own, but I had the law flowing right under her feet. By the next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. HOA emails, threat letters, even a cease and desist typed in Comic Sans, like that was gonna scare me. I sat on my porch sipping coffee, watching their members gather near the lake gate I'd installed the night before. Big, shiny lock and a brand new sign that read, "Private Access, Federal Waterway Regulation 338 Section 328 applies." Karen was at the front, arms crossed, fuming like a teapot about to explode. "You can't just block a community lake," she yelled from the gate. I shouted back, "Then maybe you should have checked who the community belongs to now." A few of her followers gasped. One of them whispered, "Did he really buy it?" Another muttered, "Karen said it's HOA property." Karen turned around sharply. "Don't listen to him. He forged those papers. I've already called the county office." I couldn't help smiling. "Perfect. Ask for Linda. She's the one who notarized my deed." That shut him up, but not Karen. She doubled down like all Karens do when the truth starts cornering them. "You think this little fence will stop us? You're blocking our trail. We'll walk right through." "Try it," I said, pulling out my phone. because the moment you step across that gate, it's federal trespassing. I've already registered it under environmental easement codes. You're not fighting me anymore. You're fighting the U.S. government." Karen froze mid-step. I could literally see her calculating ego versus fear. Then she said, "You're bluffing." That's when I hit play on my phone, a recorded voicemail from the Corps of Engineers Regional Office. "Mr. Lawson, your property transfer for Lake Emerson has been approved under federal regulation. Your ownership rights and restrictions are valid as of June 14th. The neighbor's jaws dropped. Even Karen's plastic smile cracked. You tricked everyone," she said quietly. "No, Karen." I replied, "You all tricked yourselves. You thought owning houses meant owning the land around them. That lake was never yours. It just tolerated you." For the first time, she didn't yell. She just stared at the water, the same water she'd bragged about at every HOA meeting. And I could see something flicker in her eyes. Panic. Because she knew the walking trails, the fishing docks, the lake parties, all of it had just slipped out from under her control. She thought the lake was her power. Turns out, it was my leverage.
Two days later, I woke up to the sound of heavy machinery. At first, I thought the county was doing maintenance, until I looked outside and saw an HOA contracted bulldozer rumbling toward my new fence. Karen was right behind it, wearing sunglasses and a smug grin like she'd just declared war. I ran down the path yelling, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Karen cupped her hands around her mouth. "You can't block a community pathway, so we're removing it." "Removing federal property?" I shot back. "Are you insane?" She didn't even blink. "The board voted. Majority rules." I almost laughed. "Lady, this isn't a bake sale. You can't vote your way through federal code." She waved at the driver. "Go ahead." The bulldozer engine roared, but before it could move an inch, a white pickup rolled up beside them, big federal decals on the door. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Enforcement Division. Karen froze mid-command. The driver shut off the machine instantly. Two officers stepped out, clipboards in hand. One of them, a tall woman with mirrored shades, walked straight up to Karen. "Ma'am, are you the one authorizing equipment to enter this property?" Karen adjusted her sunglasses nervously. "This is HOA land and we're—" "No, ma'am. According to our records, this area is registered under Federal Waterway Parcel 19A. The owner, Mr. Lawson, has full authority here. You're currently standing in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1382, trespassing on federal administered property." Karen's face went pale. "That can't be right. We've been using this lake for years." The officer flipped a page. "Unauthorized use doesn't create ownership, ma'am. It creates liability." I crossed my arms, trying not to smile too wide. "I told you, Karen, you picked the wrong lake." She tried to salvage what pride she had left. I'll be speaking to my lawyer." "Please do," the officer replied dryly, "because as of now, that bulldozer's impounded, and your HOA could be fined up to $50,000 for environmental disturbance." Karen's voice cracked. "50,000? What?" The officer nodded. "Each incident." The neighbors who'd come to watch started backing away. Some even whispered apologies to me, but Karen just stood there, trembling, speechless for once. As the officers filed their report, I leaned close and said quietly, "You called 911 on me last week. Now it's my turn to let the government handle you." Her lips quivered, but no words came out. She turned and walked away, muttering under her breath, something about revenge and lawsuits. I watched her go, the sound of the federal pickup fading behind her. The lake was quiet again, but I knew her silence wouldn't last. Because Karen didn't know when to quit, and I could already feel 3 days passed in peace, the longest stretch since I'd bought the lake. The water looked calm again, the ducks had come back, and for once I could drink my coffee without hearing Karen's voice echoing from across the shore. But peace never lasts long when a Karen feels cornered. That evening, just as the sun dipped below the trees, a black SUV pulled up to my gate. Out stepped Karen, dressed sharp, holding a folder thick enough to choke a lawyer. Behind her was a man in a suit with slicked hair and a smirk that screamed HOA attorney. I opened the gate halfway and said, "You're brave showing up here again." Karen smiled, fake and tight. "I came to offer you a deal." Her lawyer stepped forward. "Mr. Lawson, the HOA board is prepared to compensate you if you reopen lake access. Think of it as, cooperation." I raised a brow. Compensation or hush money? Karen's tone turned sugary. "Let's just say you'd make more from us than from keeping this place locked up. We could even name a trail after you." I laughed, loud enough for the echo to bounce off the water. "You called the cops on me, tried to bulldoze my fence, and now you want me to sell access to the same people who harassed me?" The lawyer straightened his tie. "Otherwise, we'll challenge your ownership in court. You may have federal codes, but public access laws can be argued." I leaned against the gatepost, calm. "You already did, and you lost before you even started." Karen frowned. "What do you mean?" I reached into my jacket and pulled out a brown envelope. "This just came in from the U.S. Department of the Interior." I handed it over. "They reviewed my purchase. Turns out this lake isn't just federal property, it's classified as an ecological preservation zone, which means every attempt to access or develop it now requires federal clearance." The lawyer's jaw dropped. "You're joking!" "Read the letter," I said. "They've granted me caretaker status. The only person authorized to manage this lake is me." Karen's face went from red to ghost white. She looked at the letter like it was a death sentence. "You did this on purpose!" "Of course I did. You wanted to play power games. I just switched the board." The lawyer muttered something about no legal standing and hurried back to the SUV. Karen stayed, her voice low and shaking. "You can't just take everything from us!" I looked at her, really looked at her. All the fake power, all the entitlement, gone. Just fear and defeat. "I didn't take it. You gave it away the moment you tried to own what wasn't yours." She stared at the lake one last time.